UFC 319 is this weekend. We got the real South African champ DDP taking on the Chechnyan Nightmare. Absolutely stacked fight card. Leading off is the tough season finale between Alibi Idris and Joseph Morales. Historically, tough fights season finales have always been bangers. I have no doubt in my mind that this one is going to be no different. You know, we had the Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin. Like, that's the fight that put the UFC on the map, right? And since then, for the most part, tough season finale that we've gotten has been an absolute banger. I'm taking Joseph Morales in this one. Just from what I've seen, I think he's going to be a little bit too much physicality-wise for Idris, but I don't really have a dog in that fight. I enjoy watching the tough season finales. We have a former tough season finale participant, Brian Battle, on this card, but kicking it off after tough is the Karine Silva and Diane Barbosa. Man, the women's flyweight division's just rough right now, isn't it? I am going to go with Karine Silva, and I'm not saying much more on it because we have a lot more to talk about on this fight card, and I'm not wasting it on that. This is a fantastic matchup, in my opinion. Brian Battle got exposed in his last couple fights and has been, in the ground game, lacking. He has shown that if you take him down, you may be able to keep him there if your grappling credentials are anything worth a fuck. And Ruzabayev has some grappling credentials. But I do think that as far as striking goes, Battle is probably a little bit more technical, but Ruzabayev is going to put the heat on Battle. He's going to put Battle on his back foot. Any grappling exchanges that we see, I would 100% say that Ruzabayev is going to win those battles. He's going to be ahead in the grappling exchanges. Brian Battle may get held down for 3 or 4 minutes of control time during this fight before he's finished. But I am going to go with Ruzabayev on this one. Brian Battle had a very closely contested fight against Randy Brown, where they gave him that. It was kind of controversial, but you know, he's been on a fat streak. He had the really, really weird no contest with Lusa where he got poked in the eye and they were trying to fight each other and called him a pussy afterwards. And I will say, from all the eye pokes that I've seen, it did look like that guy was faking a little bit, but Brian Battle is a tough son of a bitch. I'm not completely counting him out of this fight, but I do think that Ruzabayev is better in a lot of areas, especially grappling, and he's going to put the pace on Brian Battle. So moving on, Drakkar Klose and Edson Barbosa. Edson Barbosa moving back up to lightweight. If this fight were made 3-4 years ago, we'd be talking a different story here, truthfully. Drakkar Klose isn't the most technically sound lightweight. Like, I don't think he's going to find too much success in the top 10 if he gets there. Top 5, like, technique-wise, his striking is not that crisp. It's just not. It's a little clunky. He is a big lightweight. Like, I think physicality-wise, he's going to have the edge on a lot of his opponents in the lightweight division. I don't know how he makes 155. I think I heard him on a podcast with Tim Welch talking about how he walks around close to like 200. So, like, he's a big lightweight, and Edson Barbosa is always going to bring a kick-heavy Muay Thai kind of gritty fight, but I don't think I can take Edson Barbosa in this one. I think I'm going to have to go Drakkar Klose. Drakkar Klose is really strong. Edson Barbosa's jiu-jitsu it's not like Drakkar Klose has to worry about any jiu-jitsu in this match. If anything, he needs to worry about the body kicks and the high kicks. The body kicks are going to be there all day for Edson. Drakkar Klose has a pretty high stance or high guard and walks forward. So the leg, the front leg of Drakkar Klose and the rear leg body kicks are going to be there for Edson Barbosa. But as long as Drakkar Klose can fight at his distance and it doesn't let Barbosa operate at that longer distance where the kicks are going to come into play, I think he's going to be just fine. So Jakar Close is going to probably continue moving up in the lightweight division. Another fun matchup. Gosh, those two fights back to back are going to be treats for us, especially this one. This one has the ability to be all over the place. Like my heart wants to go with Chase Hooper because in the grappling exchanges he is going to have the advantage. Submission wise, he's going to have the advantage. Now Alexander Hernandez is a good grappler and he may be able to keep Chase on his back and deliver some, good ground and pound, but I don't think that Alexander Hernandez is any type of threat to Chase Hooper in the sense of him being submitted. On the other hand, Chase Hooper is absolutely a threat to submitting any one of his opponents that he's in there with. But Chase Hooper has gotten much, much better. He has shown every time he steps in the octagon that he is improving in some way, shape, or form. His jiu-jitsu is constantly getting better. It's evolved to a little bit more of an MMA-style jiu-jitsu. When he first got into MMA, it was still like a very sport jiu-jitsu type of style, whereas I feel like he's evolved quite a bit and started implementing more of an MMA mindset to his grappling, which has proved to be very, very good for him, very beneficial. So I think Chase Hooper has a really good shot of taking this one home, but you cannot discount Alexander Hernandez. He is a tough, gritty son of a bitch. He's got a lot of pressure on the feet. They're going to be about evenly matched up on the feet. Neither one of these guys is like a striking savant, but each of them is, good enough to put their hands on the other guy a couple times. Alexander Hernandez is absolutely going to have the power advantage. You're going to see when he lands, Chase Hooper is not going to like it. I could see Chase Hooper getting caught and shooting some really, really shitty takedowns, but because he's so lanky, sometimes he gets enough of a distance covered in that shitty takedown attempt to grab onto a leg and come up on a single. So this is a really tough fight to call. Stylistically, it's going to be an absolute treat to watch. I think we're going to get some really fun exchanges in this one. I am going to go Chase Hooper. I do think he's going to get it done by submission. But part of me wants to say that it's going to go to decision because Alex Hernandez has proven to be difficult to submit. So I'm going Chase Hooper, but not lightly. Jessica Andrade and Lupi Godinez. Part of me wants to go Jessica Andrade here, and I'm sure most people are because experience-wise and power-wise, Jessica Andrade has the advantage. But ever since Jessica, I'd say like the last 3 years, Jessica Andrade has been on a very, very steady decline. She's strung together a win here, a loss, a win, a loss, 2 wins, but nothing substantial, nothing where we saw her dominating the division. Nothing like when we saw her drop Rose Namajunas on her fucking dome piece, right? Not the same fighter today. I want to go with Lupi Godinez, but at the same time, like I know that Jessica Andrade's punches are going to have much more consequences than Lupi Godinez. But Lupi Godinez is a fucking decision, like, nightmare. She'll decision you. And Andrade hasn't been as good lately of finding those big shots. It's no secret. Jessica Andrade isn't super active. She's not popping that jab out and trying to, like, find her shots. Like, she marches you forward, slips her head, and as soon as she sees an opening for that big right hand, she uncorks it, right? And I just don't think that that's going to be enough against Lupi Godinez. Godinez is probably going to do enough to keep her distance from Jessica Andrade and not play into that, getting cut off and getting a overhand right from the back pocket from Andrade. So I'm going to Lupi Godinez by submission, or not by submission, Jesus Christ, by decision here. And I hope that Andrade retires soon. She's going to be one of those women that, wins one, loses one, gets knocked out, comes back, wins by decision. Like, just call it. Just call it. This was one of those fights that fell out, right? And they just rebooked this cat, not like very, very short notice. Trains at Lionheart MMA with Anthony Smith. Is that right? Interesting. So he's fighting up at middleweight. Jack Nolan, or Eric Nolan, against a... If you didn't see Susurkaev in his Dana White Contender Series fight, go back on Fight Pass and watch that shit. Or go on YouTube, find a way to watch it. Scary dude. Scary dude. I find it very hard to believe that they found someone, especially coming up from welterweight at 170 and coming up in middleweight to fight this very, very scary Russian dude who is extremely well-rounded and very, very powerful. I'm sorry, but Eric Nolan is getting fed to the sharks. He's taking an opportunity. I hope he makes the best of it. It's probably going to be a very quick fight, very similar to his Contender Series debut. But making his UFC debut right before the featured prelim is a little weird. Like I said, this card had some fights, I think, fall out recently, so they kind of had to throw some shit together on a whim. But a little odd that this fight where this guy's making his UFC debut and Eric Nolan from the Contender Series, and then this no-name is making his debut from seemingly nowhere. I would have liked to have seen Chase Hooper and Alex Hernandez in this slot, but obviously, you know, what the fuck do I know? Another great matchup here. This one is the featured prelim for a while. You can never cut, or for a reason, you can never count out Gerald Meerschaert, JM3. His jiu-jitsu, man. If he gets you in the third round, he's going to submit you. You get into the later stages of the fight, second, third round, and you haven't broken this man yet, he comes back and submits you at 37. It's the power of the mustache, I'm telling you. Although Khamzat Chimaev dropped him like a sack of potatoes. And it has been before. Like Gerald Meerschaert does not have great striking. I would say that it's very similar in the sense of like Chase Hooper. It's nothing special. He's looking... I will say in his last fight, I thought that he looked the best on his feet that he has in a long time. But don't get it twisted. His striking is a means to an end. He is striking with you so that he can hopefully close the distance to grab a hold of you to grapple. Because he wants to get on your back. He wants to grapple with you. And anytime GM3 gets on your back, it's just like having Aljo on your back. It's just like having Charles Oliveira in his guard and like a submission. It's not a good spot to be in. And you definitely don't want to find yourself there in the later stages of the fight because GM3 does have a good gas tank unless he gets peppered for the first couple rounds, which Michael Oleksiejczyk, which is a new guy, not new guy, but he's newly formed on the Fighting Nerds. He joined the Fighting Nerds team. So I'm sure that they have changed his approach slightly. Michael Oleksiejczyk is, in my opinion, very slept on in the middleweight division. He's got a lot of power. Like, I know his build doesn't look like it, but he's got really good striking, a lot of power, and he puts it on guys. He does. Like, I think he's going to try and put Gerald Meerschaert on his back foot, get him up against the fence. That's where Khamzat Chimaev found early success with Gerald Meerschaert. Not saying that that's like the blueprint to beat him, right? But it's already happened. Like we saw, Gerald Meerschaert got backed up against the fence against a southpaw, right? Oleksiejczyk's a southpaw. That big left hand came down the pipe and just tagged his ass. So if Oleksiejczyk can implement something of the likes where Khamzat did, where he can get GM3 on his back up against the fence, he's going to have much more chance of success in inflicting maximum damage on GM3. But don't get it twisted, there are going to be grappling exchanges in this fight if GM3 doesn't get knocked out in the first couple minutes. So I have some... This one's a tough one, but I am going to go... Fuck, dude. I want to say Michael Oleksiejczyk, but at 195 underdog looks real good, and GM3, man. Fuck. I know this is going to be a fun fight regardless, but I'm probably going to go GM3. He's not going to lose his third fight in a row. He's not going to let it happen. He's going to fraud check Michael Oleksiejczyk just like he fraud checked, what's his name? Fucking Edmund Shabazian. Edmund Shabazian was this big up-and-comer at the time, and GM3 said, nah, young man. All right, moving on to the main card. Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. This is the matchup that Kai Asakura should have been given when he first made his debut in the UFC. Instead, they fed him to Pantoja, and Pantoja made him look like he didn't belong. The UFC likes to do that type of stuff where they bring in a dominant champion from another promotion, and they try to give him a matchup against someone in the top 5, top 10 even, and they get exposed. They get absolutely exposed. And this should have been the fight that he got initially. That Tim Elliott's what, number 14, right? 13 or 14 in flyweight division. Like, this is who he should have gotten. His first fight. But we're getting it for his second fight, so we'll call it even. But Tim Elliott is going to be a very difficult matchup for Kai Asakura. Tim Elliott is almost like a Nate Landwehr in the sense that he's going to grapple you. He's going to make it grimy. He's going to work in the clinch. The dirtier the fight, the better. He does not want this to be a technical stand-up battle. If he does, it's going to be in Kai Asakura's court. Because Kai Asakura does have more established knockout power, certainly. And technically, like, he is a more crisp boxer / striker. Tim Elliott, I think, is going to have the advantage in the grappling realm, especially like the wrestling transitions. But if I'm Tim Elliott, that's all I'm doing this fight. I'm getting in Kai Asakura's face real early and grappling with him, taking some of that steam out of his punches. I know this is crazy, but I do like Tim Elliott in this fight. I do. From what I saw in Kai Asakura against Pantoja, like, I didn't see anything that would made me go, wow, holy shit, this guy is going to be the next big thing, you know? And Tim Elliott, like, people are sleeping on him. I know he kind of looks Jimmy Flick-esque, but he's a grimy, gritty, tough bastard. Like I said, very similar to like a Nate Landwehr. And you know, anytime you fight Nate Landwehr, 1, it's going to be gritty, and 2, you never know what's going to happen. He could pull a win out of his ass. But there is a, 17-year, or not 17. Yeah, 7. Jesus Christ. It's been a long day. There is a 7-year age gap. That is typically a pretty big factor. But we've seen it. We've seen it happen before. Fuck. I'm going to go Tim Elliott, dude. He beat Sumaderji last fight. Sumaderji is a tough matchup. I don't think that Kai Asakura is really any realm better than Sumaderji. So, I'm going Tim Elliott. Lock that shit in. All right, moving on. Jared Cannonier and Michael Venom Page. Guys, these matchups are just chef's kiss. I mean, we haven't had a pay-per-view like this where outside of like the Jessica Andrade and the Karina Silva fights early on, like, stylistically, the UFC matchmakers kind of outdid themselves on this one. Like, all of these matchups are so intriguing, and each one of these matchups, the opponent is good in an area where their opponent lacks. And it's just, I mean, bravo. I don't say it very often, and I probably should, but bravo to Hunter and Mick and whoever else the fuck is involved in the matchmaking process. But Jared Cannonier and Michael Page is an extremely intriguing matchup. Michael Venom Page is obviously one of the more dynamic strikers in the UFC. In MMA in general, you don't see a guy that moves like him. He's very fluid, moves left to right laterally very well, moves front to back very well, forward and back. Keeps his hands down by his hips, so it's pretty difficult to see where punches are coming from. So he is a very difficult puzzle for anybody that he faces, but Jared Cannonier is one of the mainstays in the UFC. He's been in the top-ranked division, whatever he's in. Like, he's been in the middleweight division for years now, but, like, he has fraud-checked multiple up-and-comers. He has stopped multiple hungry contenders in their tracks. Like, he is 41 years old, but you couldn't tell me that. Like, he's aging like fine wine, dude. Very tough matchup. It's gonna be a stand-up match. Like, Jared Cannonier does not wrestle. He's not planning on wrestling Michael Venom Page. I might eat my words and Jared Cannonier might come out for the first time in his career and implement a wrestle-heavy strategy, but I highly doubt that. He's going to come in and try and march forward on Michael Venom Page, although Page is a very good counter-striker as well. Like, he has the ability to put it on you, but he does have extremely good counter-striking. I'm going to go Michael Page. Even though fuck, man. Jared Cannonier, you just cannot ever count him out. You are not ever going to get an easy fight against him. And dude, when he fought RoboCop, that fight, if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. Gregory Rodriguez had Jared Cannonier so hurt, I think in the first or second round maybe. I think it was the second round. That I had no idea how he hung on. And props to the ref for letting it go, because a lot of other refs would have stopped that fight. But Jared Cannonier came back and stopped Gregory Rodriguez. He got hurt so badly, and then proceeded over the next 2.5 rounds to just break RoboCop. Just broke him. And we've seen him do that to other guys where he just breaks them. But I don't think that Michael Page has the knockout power to do to Jared Cannonier what Imavov did. I just don't. I just don't want to lock an answer on this one. It's just such a difficult matchup to call. But I think it's going to be a decision. I really do. I think Michael Page is probably going to have the more volume and more output in his strikes he typically does. So as long as he stays safe from the big bombs from Jared Cannonier, I'm probably going to see Michael Page take this by decision. Moving on, Jeff Hands of Steel Neal versus the Brazilian Cigarette, Carlos Prates. It's a little weird. The UFC has kind of been leaning into this whole, like, Prates loves to smoke cigarettes. He claims that it helps with the weight cut because cigarettes make him not as hungry, which I guess I understand that, but the UFC is like posting videos of him or pictures of him smoking cigarettes. I'm pretty sure his fight kit, has like smoke on it. So it's like, that's a little weird. Just a little bit. Like, we probably shouldn't be glorifying like an elite level athlete smoking cigarettes and people, young children potentially thinking that that's a way that you could get to the top. Like, hey kids, struggling with your weight cut? Go buy you a pack of Marlboro Reds. That'll help you lose the last few pounds. No. I digress. Anyways, it's a good matchup. I am taking the underdog in this one. Hear me out. People like to say, oh, Carlos Prates, he's knocked out everyone. Yes, but let's look at these knockouts, okay? Shall we? And I've done this before on my channel where I like to talk about this whole a fighter that wins fights that they're supposed to win and loses fights that they should lose, right? Like, this is a guy that should be knocking out some of the guys that he was up against, especially earlier on in his career. In my opinion, on this list, there's only really 2 guys, in my opinion, that are really like, okay, props to you for knocking them out. And that's Li Jingliang and Charles Radke, because Charles Radke's just a big dumb jock with a brick for a face, and he's tough as shit, very hard to get out of there. But these 2 right here are the only 2 on this list that I actually give any merit to, because Neil Magny, washed. Not washed. I mean, he did well in his last fight, whatever. But he's fucking worn down, okay? You knocking out TKOing Neil Magny, in my opinion, is not that impressive. Trevin Giles, part-time cop, not impressive. Mitch Ramirez, who the fuck is that dude? And then you got all these guys on the regional scene in Brazil. It's like, who the fuck are these guys? None of these guys count, right? But then he faces his first real, in my opinion, real elite test. Because Li Jingliang, I get like he's top 10, top 15, and he's a very tough fight. But skill-wise, you can't tell me that Li Jingliang and Ian Machado Gary are on the same level. They're not. Ian Machado Gary has got a chin on him. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got really solid striking. His IQ is very high. Like, in my opinion, Carlos Prates versus Machado Gary was the first elite test that Carlos Prates had, and he failed miserably. We saw that his knockout power doesn't translate to sometimes to the elite guys, and Jeff has proven to be very difficult to get out of there. So I don't think that Carlos Prates is going to have the power to get him out of there, and I don't think that he has any other avenue to win this fight outside of that. Jeff Neal, in my opinion, is going to have better cardio. He doesn't smoke cigarettes. That's an obvious reason. And we've seen him go the distance in difficult fights, in high-paced fights. Like, he can do it. And his power is real. When you see him hit people, you fucking see it on their face. They don't like it. Okay? So, hot take, I have Jeff Neal. I think he's going to make this look pretty easy. If it goes to decision, Jeff Neal 1,000%. And then, even not, like, I think if there's going to be a finish in this fight, it's going to be Jeff Neal finishing Carlos Prates. Because, again, I think Carlos Prates, yes, he knocked out Li Jingliang and Radke, but I don't think that holds water. I just don't. So I'm going Jeff Neal in this one as well. So we're going some nice underdogs on the main card. Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. I am making this decision. I've watched a couple of Aaron Pico's fights, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, he's a fucking man-child for how young he is, specimen, blah, blah, blah. While that's true, it doesn't always matter, and Lerone Murphy is a very technical and skilled fighter. Stand up, not a lot of holes. He might not be the most exciting fighter on the roster, but he's damn skilled. And Aaron Pico is the latest installment of Bellator/PFL fighters coming over to try and make a name of themselves, going up against someone that's in the top 5. I think Lerone Murphy's in the top 5. Yeah, I think. So this is just the latest installment of Bellator/PFL coming over to get exposed in the UFC on their debut. I'm going Lerone Murphy. It's crazy, absolutely crazy disrespectful that Lerone Murphy is the underdog here. Both for experience level, how many fights in the UFC he has, and the caliber of people that he has fought compared to Aaron Pico. Just saying. Lerone Murphy, I think he's going to make easy work of Aaron Pico. This Bellator PFL shit where they bring them in and have them face someone in the top 5 has got to stop. It's not good. It has not worked well once. I'll wait. Tell me when it's worked out well once in the last few years. I'm not talking about maybe some shit that happened a decade ago. I'm talking about in recent memory, right? Michael Chandler coming over. Patricio Pitbull coming over. Who else? There was another one recently. But there's been 3 or 4 in the last couple years that they've come over and they are elite guys, and then they come over and they're not elite. Not in the UFC. I'm not saying the same thing is for Aaron Pico. He's the youngest guy that's come over from these other organizations, so he still has time to develop. But I think it's going to be a wash, rinse, repeat of the last few times that Bellator guys have come over. The stage is going to be too big, the lights are going to be too bright, and they're going to fold under the pressure. Aaron Pico is known for his pressure that he puts on people and the pace, but I guarantee you that he's going to come out and look real sluggish, just like His name just came to me. The southpaw that just fought from Bellator that said he was Patchy Mix, right? He's like, I'm going to submit you and your coach, right? Patchy Mix is one of those guys that, he comes out and he puts the pressure on guys. And it's like, no, he looked like a scared little bitch in that fight against Danny Gay. I think it was Danny Gay. I can't remember who he fought. Oh, Mario Bautista. Jesus, Murphy. My brain is all over the place right now. But, they were saying, he's going to submit Mario Bautista and he's going to No. He looked like he was a scared little bitch. I think that's going to be the exact same thing that happens to Aaron Pico. He's going to look like a shell of himself. So I'm going Lerone Murphy. I don't know if it's going to be decision or finish. Probably a decision, knowing Lerone Murphy is not the most exciting guy in the division. But moving on. The main event. The real South African champ. DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev. So here's the deal. I'm not going to say that it's just casuals that are high on Khamzat Chimaev. Because it's not. I completely understand the hype that's behind him, but I'm hearing a lot of people saying that Khamzat Chimaev is going to run through DDP. There has not been a single fucking person that has been able to run through DDP. That's not happening. It's just not. He is on his way to becoming a dominant middleweight champion. If he gets through Khamzat Chimaev, 3-4 more title defenses, which once he gets past Chimaev, I think Chimaev is by far his biggest test. Once he beats Chimaev, I don't think there's anyone in the top 10 in the middleweight division that is going to threaten DDP. It's not going to happen. Not Sean, not fucking Adesanya, none of those guys. I don't foresee any of them. He's way too unorthodox. He is one of the best at getting inside of his opponent's heads on fight week. We saw it with Sean Strickland. Even though Sean Strickland has the mental fortitude of a 4-year-old, he's done it with Izzy. If you go back and watch his pressers, he has some of the coldest one-liners that you can tell actually rattle his opponents. So he is one of the only fighters that I will ever take into account, other than when Conor McGregor was fighting. Him and Conor McGregor, he's not as popular and he doesn't have the charisma that Conor McGregor had, but his one-liners sting just as bad as Conor McGregor's did. So he's the only fighter on the active roster right now, in my opinion, where you can go, his shit talk is kind of a factor in these fights. I think that is not going to be the case here because of the language barrier. I think the presser is probably going to be a lot of fucking I can't understand what you're saying, you can't understand what I'm saying. They're both just screaming shit. So I don't think Khamzat is going to fully understand the insults that DDP is slinging at him, both from an IQ perspective and from just a language barrier perspective. So that's not going to be a factor here, but I just thought I would bring that up because DDP is one of the only people that you can make that case for right now. But outside of that, stylistically, this is a super interesting matchup because you've got Khamzat Chimaev, who is an absolute wrecking ball. His pace is very hectic and chaotic right out of the gate. You know for certain what his game plan is. Everyone knows what his game plan is. No one has been able to stop him up until this point. You know that you're going to get wrestled. DDP is going to get taken. DDP is going to get taken down this fight. No doubt about it. The real question and how this fight plays out is, can he get up? And can he get up safely? Because we have seen that if you try to get up in a non-technically safe way, and you just go to stand up all willy-nilly, he's going to snatch your neck. So DDP has stayed safe in some really dangerous spots jiu-jitsu-wise over his career. I think that he is smart enough to know that that's what he needed to work on big time this camp. I'm assuming that he worked a ton on defensive wrestling as well. Doesn't matter how much he works on it, he is going to get taken down. Khamzat Chimaev is going to take down any person that he's in the octagon with. I'm fully confident in that. But Dricus du Plessis, I think that he's gonna be enough to get up from those takedowns. Now, the real question is, does this fight go past 2 rounds? If this fight does go past 2 rounds, we have to start talking about the fact that Khamzat Chimaev, his gas tank, didn't look so hot against Kamaru Usman. I think everyone can agree that if Kamaru Usman had another couple minutes to work in that fight, if it was a 5-round fight, Khamzat would have been fucked. He was really slowing down. Kamaru Usman was not. Khamzat Chimaev's a big dude, right? Like, he's probably walking around 210, so he probably cuts a ton of weight for 185, even to make 185. Not saying that DDP doesn't, but gas tank wise, I know DDP got his nose fixed not long ago and he still mouth breathes like within the first minute of the fight, but his gas tank has proven to be something that can be weaponized, not necessarily to the point of like a Merab Dvalishvili, but his cardio is damn near up there as far as it can be weaponized. So if this fight gets out of the second round, I love the odds for DDP to win either by TKO or decision. Dricus du Plessis will take Khamzat down in the later rounds if they get there and throw some very vicious ground and pound. I see that potentially being a way that this fight ends, by Dricus du Plessis outlasting the storm initially. It's going to be sketchy. We're all probably going to be sitting there with really tight buttholes watching him in some really sketchy situations. But if he gets past that, his odds of winning this fight out of the second round are very, very high. So I'm going to go DDP. I am. I say that with an asterisk because I'm super nervous about the first couple minutes of the first couple rounds, especially early on when they're dry. That's the only thing that really worries me. But outside of that, I think Dricus du Plessis has the grit. He's a dog. If we get out of the second round and go into the third, we're going to start seeing DDP start coming away with this one. So lock it in, DDP, either by TKO, ground strikes, or decision. But there you have it. That's the UFC 319 in Chicago this weekend. Like I said, it's an absolutely stacked card. Enjoy your last few streams on your favorite service, as we are all, I'm sure, very excited to put that chapter behind us in having to find, a stream that's not bugging out at 11 o'clock when the fight that you care about is taking place. So enjoy your last few cards where we have to experience that, because here in 2026 we're just going to be able to log into Paramount and it's going to be a beautiful thing. But either way, if you stuck around this long, I'd love to know who you think is going to come away with this one in the main event. It's a very intriguing matchup, so let me know your thoughts below. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.